Well, thank you, and good afternoon, or good morning to everyone. My name is Luiz Amaral, and I'm the CEO of the Science-Based Targets Initiative, or the SBTI. Thank you so very much for joining me today, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you. It's an honor to be speaking at the Gold Standards event, and it's great to see and hear so many people gathering around here today and around London for London Climate Action Week, with the sole objective of understanding how, together, we can meet our global challenge of climate change. We are, as we all know, on a critical juncture. The IPCC has given our final warning. To avoid exceeding 1.5 degrees in global warming, we must reduce emissions by 43% by 2030, 60% by 2035, and achieve net zero by 2050. We all in this room know how critical the next few years are for our planet, and that both steps must be taken immediately. Through my career, particularly with my work in SBTI as well, I have seen firsthand how businesses have a unique responsibility and power to make impact by cutting carbon emissions and by innovating. Fighting climate change is not something that we can leave to others. Either we all swim together or we all sink together. But I come from Brazil, the home of the Amazon and one of our most precious and vulnerable global assets, a country that is both blessed and cursed by abundant resources, but a place with enormous responsibility in the world, but also a place that shines with optimism. I'm here because I'm a believer, and that's why I took this job. I believe that we can swim together so we don't sink together, we dance together, and even we grow together. In many ways, all of the wonders of humanity, creativity and ingenuity that has got here where we are were driven by some form of scientific development. All of our human accomplishments and economic prosperity has been won through science, but it also has given us one of our greatest existential challenges and threats to our future. The same human endeavor, our unique and unflappable spirit of creativity that has delivered all of the wonders that we have, will also have to come to help us meet the gravest challenges of our time. Science-based targets, adopted and championed by corporations, are a vital first step towards deep, robust decarbonization. But remember, a very vital first step. We need to define from the start what success looks like, to know if we're getting there, to know where we want to get, and to measure progress against that. If we don't define today what good looks like tomorrow, there's a risk of everything that we do becoming a storytelling competition. And we do not need to wait for a magical solution to take decisive climate action. We know we don't have all of the answers, but we can start today. We have the science, the knowledge, and the technologies now to start that process. The ambition and the guidance is also well developed now. Not to be published with economic headwinds, not to be taught about what is happening today on the political world, but really thinking what is that we need to achieve 5, 10, 20 years from now. Even if we might not know everything, we need to start now. Fortunately or unfortunately, governments also come and go. But companies and corporations, many of them endure timelessly. So there are no other actors with the might, ingenuity, resources and scale, and the operational capacity to really change on the speed that we want. We know that governments are paramount, and as was discussed today, we need policy to follow, but we also know that policy takes time. Corporate endeavor and corporate action can be much faster. Business powered by science can help us deliver on our climate change goals. And science-based targets give those parameters of what success looks like, based on what science says is necessary. So not what we can achieve, but what we need to achieve to tackle our Paris Agreement challenges. But as I said, I know this is just the start. Business must take action, must take all steps necessary to deliver against those targets. Only then we can truly say that we're doing enough. So what does my organization fit on all of that? What do we do? As I mentioned, the Science-Based Targets Initiative, or SBTI, was launched first as an initial call for action in 2015, around the time of the Paris Agreements. And our goal at the time was to get 100 companies to commit to cut their emissions aligned with the scientific modeling. 100 companies. That was our target. We did not expect at all, as we started, that this concept would grow in a movement that is spread out across the globe. As we're navigating the edge of knowledge, we're doing something that has never been done before, trying to translate that complex scientific modeling into actionable guidance and actionable corporate action. It's hard, but it was something that some thought was very difficult. Again, our challenge was to get 100 companies, but again, now we have transformed ourselves in a global corporate movement. Science-based targets can help companies set the course, set the ambitions. They're setting where they want to get tomorrow and cut through the greenwashing and deliver rapid, impactful, incredible greenhouse gas emissions reductions. That's exactly what we're focusing on, defining what good looks like so you know where you're heading and you can assess progress against that. We're enabling and driving companies and financial institutions across the world, hopefully, to have their emissions before 2030 and achieve the net zero around 2050. As I said, when we started in 2015, our goal was to have 100 companies. That was our target. As of today, we have 5,300 companies globally that have committed to setting a science-based target, out of which 2,800 have already done so and have had their targets validated. And within those 2,800, including nearly one quarter of Fortune 500 companies that have already had their targets validated against those guidances. And that's and the companies that have committed and get targets validated also account for around 1/3 of the global economy. So again, it took that level of ambition of us setting a target and trying to define where we're going to get to go from 100, which was the original target, to be able to see that we could do more and get today at 5,300. And our goal is to get about 10,000 companies committed within the next 2 years. In 2020, but that's not only that, as I said, this is the beginning of the journey, right? Defining what good looks like, setting what your objectives are the very beginning. We think that there's a paramount condition for what comes next, which is actually the action. And there's evidence that helping define what good looks like does help deliver action. In 2021, business with validated 1.5-degree targets reporting on their year-to-year progress reported a reduction in their Scope 1 and 2 emissions of 12% a year, which is greater than the 7.6 reductions required to halt temperature rise to 1.5 degree at a global level. So the companies that, or at least there's evidence that the companies that did set their goals are starting to deliver on their ambitions in line on what is needed to achieve a 1.5 degree world. Again, if you don't define what success looks like, it's very hard to define if you're on track or not. And we're helping to mobilize the private sector to combat the climate crisis in high-emitting sectors as well, while addressing the most pressing issues in corporate climate actions, like, for example, Scope 3, beyond value chain mitigation guidance, importance of use of financial carbon systems, and etc. Science-based targets aren't just good for the climate. I've been talking to folks, and many have reported to us that they might be good to business too. They can help increase investor confidence. They can help boost brand reputation for those companies that are working on B2C markets. They can reduce the risks of perceptions of their clients for those companies that are working on B2B markets. They can reduce regulatory uncertainty because, as it was discussed before, regulation is catching up. Maybe not as quick as we want, but gladly it's catching up. But as I said, setting a target is not the objective itself. It's not an end on itself. It's just the first step towards a net zero future that underpin the wholesale transformation of the global economy. You must have proven over the millennium that we're nothing but resilient. And I want to reassure you that despite the doom and gloom of the news around climate, I do believe that we can innovate our way out of the climate change and get ourselves to a net zero world. The truth is, the more folks we get in, the merrier. Virtually every company can set a science-based targets already, even in hard-to-abate sectors and in anywhere in the globe. In this room here today, I'm sure there are people from a wide range of sectors, all different stages of your decarbonization journey. You all face unique and complex challenges through your operations and through your value chains. And I do know, because I worked most of my life in the private sector as well, that company executives and higher leadership are looking for answers to help to meet those targets or those challenges. And that's why at SBTI we on top of our generic guidance on how to set net zeros that are applicable to any sector anywhere on the globe, we also deliver sector-specific target setting guidance to complement those, to deal with the idiosyncrasies of the hard-to-abate sectors. We have already guidance, for example, published for sectors such as food, land, and agriculture, technology sector, power sector, cement sector, maritime sector. And we're already working on some other guidances for 7 new sectors: aluminum, aviation, buildings, chemicals, oil and gas, steel, and updating our transport guidance. And once we have completed all of that, we will have been covering 14 high-emitting sectors and roughly 90% of global emissions. So truly trying to create a global roadmap for what good looks like in terms of reduction of carbon emissions at a company level for the majority of the sectors. But again, this development is in addition to what we already have. So as I said, virtually today, any company can already set their targets regardless of those additional guidances that are being created sector by sector. But one of the other big opportunities that we see is finance, and as has been discussed today. Financial sector is the glue, is the machine that can get our global economy moving and changing to a different type of economy. We're inching closer and bringing the global financial sector into the science-based mix on a formal structure. A game-changing step once completed because, as I mentioned, it concerns every aspect of the global economy. Financial institutions have the power not just to set their own science-based targets and to work on that, which we're working with that, but even more importantly, to require that from their investees, from their clients, and to use their power to actually change the global economy for better. No one understands risks and rewards like the financial sector. So, and I've worked many years on the financial sector as well, so I think it's probably one of the sectors that is well prepared to do that cost-based analysis and see you have to act today because it might not pay off in the future. That risk assessment is something that financial sector lives and breathes. So I believe that the uptake is going to be quite important within this sector. As I said, the finance sector is the glue that brings the global economy together and is also the fuel that powers this global transformation that is needed. Not only on their operations, again, but on the operations of their clients. And we're already seeing action, again, taken by institutions, some that are just requiring SBTI standards from their clients, and some that actually then verifying their own plans themselves, such, for example, Accent, Equity, Bank Australia, Commerce Bank, NatWest, Store Brand, which all have published and validated their targets. We're also developing the first net zero standard for financial institutions, building on the success of our corporate net zero standard that will enable those financial institutions that want to set their own targets to do so. And we have published a draft for public consultation, which is ongoing. So I actually invite, being here in London, the heart of the global finance, I urge you and the financial sector entities to get involved with that process. We want to hear you. As a standard setting organization, we need those consultation processes. We need to test those cases. And those consultations are ongoing. So I urge you all to help us shape this standard to the best possible way. Finally, as I said, the biggest emissions are not within the financial sector operations, but they're in scope 3. So moving to scope 3, we know that is arguably the biggest challenge of getting a corporate climate action. We know that scope 3 emissions are about 11 times higher than a company's direct emissions. And to do that, the more they join the party, the easier it gets to everyone. As more companies sign up to setting science-based targets, they apply also increasing pressure on their suppliers as well, the same way that banks do to their clients. And that's the movement that we need to create. That butterfly effect is what is actually going to get us changing the economy at a wholesale way. For example, as you know, Asia tends to be a major supplier to the rest of the world in many supply chains. When I joined SBTI about a year and 3 months ago, Asia was about 20% of our companies, and it's the region that has grown the fastest over the past year. It's now about 25% of SBTI companies are located in Asia. So we're seeing this power of supply chain, this power of Scope 3 actually starting to pick up. And that's extremely important if we are going to deliver on our goals. Finally, international companies have as much responsibility to decarbonize in developing countries as they do in the places of their headquarters. It doesn't matter where the HQ of a company is, the responsibility to decarbonize and their plans are global by nature. So coming from a developing country, I usually get the question as well, how are you supporting investments on the developing countries? Well, my answer is, again, most of our companies are multinational ones, and it doesn't matter if their headquarters are in Geneva, in London, in New York, or in Jakarta, in Mexico City, or in Sao Paulo. As long as they have global operations, they're going to invest wherever they get the biggest bang for the buck. And in many times, it means on their operations on the developing world. As countries and companies in climate vulnerable parts of the world are very open to climate action, are of course very open to climate action and trying to attract those investments. We're pushing against an open door here. So what we need is not only investment through sustainable projects, which are very important, and that's why I'm here through these issues that we're going to discuss here, but also through the economic forces on the supply chains that can force systemic change. As I said, guaranteeing that companies that are setting targets are looking for where they can invest to get the biggest bang for the buck, including on their operations on the developing countries. But when I talk to the companies, sometimes I ask, and I asked the CEO of one company once, where is your first buck going to go, right? Now that you have a global target, where is your first dollar of investment going to go? And that was a Mexican company. And my expectation was going to be, well, at home in Mexico because of political pressure, or in our operations in Africa because probably that's where you get the lowest cost of abatement. And the answer of the CEO was, you know what? In North America, in the US, because that's where the regulatory pressure is the greatest. So although we are creating a movement that can flow money from developed world to developing world, one of the conditions that we need for that to happen is also the regulatory environment. So we need to create the regulatory environment, so even if it's cheaper to invest in developing countries, sometimes the money is not flowing there because of the lack of the regulatory environment. So we need to help that. We're creating the conditions, but we need to help create that so that flow of money happens. So to conclude, we're very proud of the work that has been done so far, but we know there's still so much more left to do. A likely foray with the El Niño in the coming months could focus minds and galvanize action, but will come at enormous human and economic cost as well. We must not allow the lives and livelihoods already lost to climate events to be in vain. Business alone will be the deciding factor. Business alone will not be the deciding factor, but will be a very important part of that. So where do we go from here? First, I need to call businesses to set science-based climate targets. That's a crucial first step to achieve net zero. Anything less will just not do. And we need to bring everybody on board. The more, the merrier. The more in, the easier it gets to everyone, exactly because of the Scope 3 challenge. Without understanding your carbon budget, you cannot define what success looks like. We know that you need to measure in order to manage, and you need to define success in order to know if you're getting there or not. So get your science-based target, because that's what is going to help you achieve the objectives. Finally, this will require everybody to be bold. And there's an element of boldness and an element of courage here. To look beyond the horizon of the next financial quarter takes courageous steps, even if we don't know all of the answers. And I want just to end with a quick story. We all remember, or we all have heard that famous speech by US President JFK in the early 60s when he said, "We're going to get to the moon by the end of the decades, not because it's easy, but because it's hard." When he made that speech, they didn't have all the answers. They didn't have all of the rockets. They didn't have all of the technology. But it took that level of leadership, that level of courage to define very clearly what the objective was, and then to create the conditions for that to happen. Well, 10 years later, we had humanity landing on the moon. And more importantly, half of the engineers that worked on the Apollo 11 program were still in high school when Kennedy made that speech 10 years later, 10 years before. So that level of ambition, that level of leadership from corporate leaders to really setting what good looks like 5, 10, even 20 years in the future, which is something that they're not used to, and then creating the conditions internally for that to happen, it's absolutely necessary and paramount to do that. And there are rockets in the moon that are there to prove this point. So thank you so very much, and I appreciate the time, and it has been a great pleasure to be here with you today, and look forward to meeting you and discussing about these issues on our breakout sessions as well. Thank you so very much.